There is a particular silence that follows lost inspiration. It's not empty, it's heavy. It fills spaces that music once occupied. For Ada Nwosu, that silence had lived in her studio for 6 months, 23 days. Her landlord's texts were now poems of eviction. Her agent's calls went to a foiled inbox. The grand piano, her first major purchase after her debut symphony went viral 3 years ago, sat like a coffin for a talent that had simply stopped breathing. Tonight, she walked Takwabe not for inspiration, but for escape. The Atlantic didn't care about her writer's block. It had its own rhythm, ancient and indifferent. That's when the glint caught her eye. Not a bottle or lost phone, something buried at the tide line winking at her with the last light of day. The mirror was heavier than it looked. The frame, tarnished silver or some older metal, was carved with patterns that made her eyes ache if she stared too long. Waves, serpents, women with too many limbs. She wiped away the salt and grime and gasped. Her reflection wasn't there. Instead, the glass showed deep ocean water moving as if alive. And then the sound. Not from around her, from the mirror itself. A low, resonant hum that vibrated in her teeth. 4 perfect notes, a melody that felt both foreign and intimately familiar, like a lullaby from a life she hadn't lived. She barely remembered the walk home, only the weight of the mirror in her bag and those 4 notes looping in her mind. Ada sat at the piano at 2 a.m., the mirror watching from her desk. She played the 4 notes, then a 5th came to her, then a 6th. It wasn't composing, it was remembering, as if the music already existed in some deep part of her and the mirror was simply turning the key. By sunrise, she had 12 pages of sheet music. By noon, 30. Her fingers moved with a certainty they hadn't known in years. The piece was called Abyssal Lullaby before she even decided on the title. She emailed the first movement to her agent at 3 p.m. The reply came in 15 minutes. "Where has this been? This is genius." The mirror sat silent on her desk, but in its watery depths, Ada thought she saw something smile. Abyssal Lullaby debuted at number 3 on the classical charts. Critics used words like transcendent and primal. Offers poured in. Ada's silence was over. But success came with peculiarities. She could no longer drink tap water. It tasted stale, dead. Only mineral water satisfied a sudden deep thirst. Her reflection in shop windows sometimes showed her for a second, then rippled away like a stone dropped in a pond. And the dreams, oh, the dreams. A woman with hair of black seaweed and eyes that held entire oceans would sing to her. Not the music Ada was writing, something older. A melody that felt like the first song from when the world was all water and no land. Ada told herself it was stress, inspiration, the mind playing tricks, until the night she finished the final movement. The final note was placed, the symphony complete. Ada stared at the mirror, which she now kept draped with black velvet when not in use. She pulled the cloth away. The water in the glass was calm, clear, and for the first time it showed a face that wasn't a reflection. The woman from her dreams looked back at her, not smiling, not frowning, simply present. When she spoke, the voice came from both the mirror and the air in Ada's studio, like surround sound from another world. Little composer. The voice was waves on rocks, deep currents, the hum of leviathans. You have played my song beautifully, note for note. But a symphony has 2 parts, the music and the silence that follows. Ada's mouth was dry. What do you want? What was promised? A song for a song. You took mine from the deep. Now I take yours from the land." The mirror's surface shifted. Now it showed Ada's own reflection, but changed. Her eyes held the same ancient seas, gills fluttered at her neck, and she was singing, not her music, the older song from a throat that could breathe water. "The choice is already made," the voice said. "You accepted it when you played the first note I gave you. You are not a composer, Ada. You are a conduit, and the ocean is calling its instrument home." Tonight, Abyssal Lullaby premieres at the National Theatre. They say it's her masterpiece, the comeback of the decade. Ada bows to thunderous applause. The critics are already calling it the sound of rebirth. But Ada hears different music, a pull, a tide in her blood. She looks at the champagne flute in her hand. The bubbles rise, and for a moment they form a pattern, a face, an invitation. She smiles at the crowd, sips the champagne, and wonders when the high tide is. This has been the Mirror's Song, the first echo in our series, Echoes of the Water Goddess. Some gifts are loans, some talents are borrowed, and some songs were never meant for land dwellers' ears. Subscribe to the Oracle's Groove. The next story awaits. Remember, not all depths are in the ocean.
This is the Oracle's Grove.